Hi guys, welcome back. It's Mrs. Peterson, that lady who teaches art, and today I'm going to review the element of art called form with you. So form is, it sometimes gets confused with shape, but it is not flat like shape, it is actually 3D. The mathematical formula would be base times height times length. And sometimes that's where math teachers will say, oh yeah, these are three-dimensional shapes. Well, in art, there's no such thing as a three-dimensional shape. That's oxymoronical. Those are two opposite things. Shape is flat and form is three-dimensional. So we would call this a form. And then the other thing about a form is that it holds volume. And that gets a little confusing because we think volume, do you mean how loud it is? No, that's how much it holds. So this water bottle I'm drinking out of right now has a volume of half of a liter, or has a volume of 16.9 fluid ounces. So that's how much fits inside. This shape too, how much air could fit inside, or popcorn or M&Ms fits inside, that's how much volume it holds. Okay, so we're going to review some common forms, and what your assignment is going to be is to draw each of these forms. So let's first do that. You need to write the name and draw each of these forms. So a sphere is going to start like a circle. And then we're going to add to that in just a minute to make it look three-dimensional. A hemisphere, hemi means half, just like we learned like sema means half. Hemi means half, so we're going to have half of a circle. And the bottom might just slightly be curved. A cylinder, let's lay this cylinder on its side. So it's going to look like an oval. And then a little askew there. A cone, let's draw this cone upside down. So I'm going to draw an oval for the top, and then I'm going to point it down. An organic form would just be any sort of blob. So I can go back and make that look three-dimensional with my shading, shadows, and horizon line. A pyramid. Pyramid, I like to start like a straight line, slant down, and then make one side of a triangle, and then make the other side. A triangular prism is going to start with the face of the triangle, and then it's going to go up and back, and then this same angle that this was is going to be what this is. Kind of looks like an old-fashioned tent. So that's a triangular prism. A cube starts like a square. And each side is a square, but it doesn't look that way when I draw it. I'm going to point up to the back, up to the back, up to the back. And then it's really important that this line is very flat. And then this one needs to be perpendicular to that. Okay? A rectangular prism is going to start with a rectangle. And it can go either way, your rectangle. Then it's going to go up and back, up and back, up and back. This line needs to be very flat. This line needs to be very flat. And then organic can be another blobby shape. Okay, so you need to draw each of those shapes and give it a name for your assignment. But the other part of your assignment is you're going to copy the shadow, the shading, and the horizon line that I do on one of these shapes. And then you're going to do the same thing to one that I don't do. So it's kind of like a little test. Did you understand how to do it? So for the horizon line, the only place we don't want to put it is under the object, because then it looks like the object is floating. So I can do it through the object. Then I'm going to add shading, which is on the object. I'm going to indicate where the light is shining on it by just putting a little flashlight on there, little arrow. We wouldn't do this if it were our final artwork, but we can on here. And then I'm going to just make, little smiley faces of area. One that's super dark, one that's like dark gray. I don't want the line that I used to create this little circle to be darker than the actual shading itself. Definitely want that line to blend in. And then the last one is the hardest one, in between the white and the light gray. You're going to want it to look like a little oval where it's shining. Okay, so now I have my shading on there. And then I'm going to add my shadow. My shadow is going to mimic the shape of the object. So in this case, it's going to mimic that sphere, but it's going to be elongated, and it often comes off the darkest part of the shape. So it's going to be kind of like a rounded something. And then we're going to use scumbling, darkest right next to the object and lighter as it comes away from the object. Now the other thing right now, I just have a line that divides my background from the table that the object is sitting on, and that looks pretty childish. So I'm going to just use some hatching to shade in the background. Hatching, remember, is just the diagonal lines that go the same direction the whole time. And it doesn't really matter what shade you pick. You can just do something that's different than the table so it stands out. And then you're going to go back and blend. I happen to have one of these rolled up pieces of paper blending sticks here. You can definitely use your finger. That's what I did when I was a kid, or a little cotton ball or Q-tip. But you're just going to start in your lightest area and blend to your darker areas. I'm going to blend my background here. I like my lines to go, when I'm blending, the same way that I created them. And then you can blend your shadow as well, and that always changes the piece dramatically. And then don't forget to go back and clean up your edges where you maybe went over with your blending stick, just to make it look nice and clean and a finished product. I like to hit my highlight again with my eraser, that white spot, and then I like to hit my object where it was blackest just one more time with a pencil without blending it away, so you can really see where that black is. Okay, so when you go to create your object, you are going to have a horizon line. It can go through the object or be above the object. You're going to have shading on the actual form, and then you're going to have your shadow off the form, and then don't forget to blend. I'm going to skip the hemisphere. If that's one that you want to do, that's great. You can do that. I'm going to show you on the cylinder what I would do. Let's put the light straight down on this one. And then let's do our horizon line above the object this time. Let's use cross hatching to shade in above. Cross hatching is diagonal lines one way, and then diagonal lines the other way. And then we're going to have our light coming on our object. So our shading on the object, this whole side is going to be away from the light. And then the bottom down here is going to be super dark. It's like rolled under the object to make it look round. And then we're just going to have it coming up. Getting lighter as it comes up. Okay, and then our shadow is going to be directly under this object, and it's just going to be super tiny. It's just going to be what this is sitting on. Nothing more. And then my last step would be to blend. Again, you can use your finger. Just be careful to wash up afterwards so you're not getting pencil all over your house. And then hit that with an eraser to clean it up when you are finished. All right, let's look at the cone. For the cone, I'm going to also have my light coming straight down. I'm going to have my horizon line going through the object this time. And both the ones I've done before, I colored above the horizon line. It doesn't matter where you color, so I'm going to color below this time just to show you that. And you know what? I'm going to do stippling. I don't know if you remember stippling. Stippling is where you create little dots with your pencil. Sometimes students try to go too fast or too hard, and then they end up getting like little lines, kind of like I did right there. So just go slow if you want to use stippling. I always appreciate when an artist has stippled because I know how long it takes. So once you've tried it, you'll realize, whoa, that is time consuming. It's not often a technique that I use in my drawings just because it is so time consuming, but it does work. All right, then I'm going to add my drawing on the actual piece, my shading on the piece. The darkest part is going to be down here far away from the light. It's going to have the dark gray right there, middle gray, maybe some light gray, and the top is getting the light in this case. Now my shadow for this is going to be interesting. It's going to mimic the shape, but in this case it's going to mimic this circle part, which actually looks like an oval from our view. So I just kind of draw a little oval down here, and it's going to be darkest right next to the object, and then get lighter as it comes out, because that's what's being blocked from the light source, this shape. And then I don't tend to blend where I've stippled, so I would start with my lightest area on the object, which is up here on the top, blend my shadow, and then I might go back and hit my darkest spot one more time. And then if there was any area to clean up, like where I smudged right here, I might clean that up with an eraser. There you go. And let's do one more together, and then you'll need to choose one of the ones I didn't do also for your assignment. So for the cube, I'm going to do the line, I can do it above, I can do it through. Let's see, I've done 2 through, so I'll do this one above. I tend to do them above just because it sometimes can mean less work. But in this case, it's going to mean more work because I'm going to shade in the whole area. Now remember, it doesn't matter how dark I shade in the table as long as it's a different shade from what I created before. So if above is going to stay white, then I can make this light gray down here. And I just used hatching diagonally to this side. Okay, for this one, we are going to pretend that the light is coming at this angle. So the top is going to be the lightest, the brightest. The side that's going to be the darkest is, well, the bottom. I often have kids say yes, but of the ones that I see, it's going to be this side. And this whole side is probably going to be pretty dark. And then this side is going to be maybe a middle shade. And kids will often ask me, like, how do you know what shade it's going to be? Well, it depends what color the cube is. It depends how bright the light is in the room. So there's really no like firm answer of what shade it needs to be, but this one needs to be darker than the top and lighter than the other side. And then my shadow is going to come off on the darkest side. It's going to mimic the shape, so I'm just doing 2 straight lines, and then at that angle I like to use scumbling in my shadow, and it gets lighter as it goes out. And then I'm going to blend. I start with my lightest area, which is my background in this case. I try to follow the direction of the lines that I created. And then I'm going to go on my shape. And then I like to hit it with an eraser where I got outside the lines a little bit. And then hit my darkest area again. Okay, so what do you need to do for your assignment? You need to send me the name of each object and just like the pencil outline sketch of it. You need to do one that I have done. So whether that's the circle, the cylinder, the cone, or the cube. And then you need to do one that I did not do, showing me the horizon line, shading on the object, shadow off the object, blending, cleaning it up with an eraser, and then hitting your dark again with black. All right, guys, send me a picture of that with your name and today's date, and I can't wait to see what you create.